What we like to do is for all our program, we start with foundation. So let me apologize ahead of time. We always start with fundamental, whereby we assume nobody knows anything. Then we now get into the professional side of it. So they are very short presentation, but it will be worthwhile so that it will build up towards before we now get into the presentation and do some quick, review as we proceed also. So let's get started real quick, everybody. So we're going to start with, let's think about this together. Let's take a journey together real quick. As you can see here, protecting your digital world, right? We're looking like our kids in school. We are thinking of how would they protect their online presence, right? It's a big deal right now all over the world. So data privacy, we are saying our digital secret is like, what is my secret, my digital footprint out there? So we are thinking in terms of how do you build trust? If you're a company or an organization, one of your priorities is to make sure you can build trust. Think for 1 second. If a big bank, no name disclosed, is compromised today in North America, right? It could be in Canada, US, or Mexico. Guess what? Immediately it eats their reputation. You and I would likely not put your funds there as a preferred bank the next day because the reputation has suffered, right? So that's a big deal. The next thing we're thinking in terms is permission. Meaning, if somebody is playing with my data, holding my data, do they have the permission to share my information in simple terms? Then, personal information. Let me throw this out to you all. Everybody, let's think together. If I ask you, what are some personal information we should protect? Can we just type a few for me? Let's just throw it out there. What are some personal information you think we should protect? Let's forget anybody's, thinking. Believe it or not, like I say, a lot of these things are things we already know. I'm just calling our attention. Let's think together. Somebody says social security number, health status, bank details, financial record, PII, personal identification information, PHI, personal health information. This is so spot on because these are the things we are looking for to protect in general. So it's a big deal. You're right. 100%. Those are the kind of record we are protecting. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? If our information is compromised of our client or customer, beside the reputational damage, it automatically exposes us to legal risk, meaning class action lawsuits, individual lawsuits. And sometimes we're talking of hundreds of millions of settlements, sometimes billions of dollars of settlements. So it's a big deal. It's a very significant deal. Thank you. I think I'm recording already. Let me double check. Yes, we are recording already. Thank you for calling that out. Okay, so it's a big deal. So let's quickly look at this also. All right. When we talk about data security, let's pause. What comes to your mind? Just go ahead and type. What do you think? If I say data security, anytime I say, we've talked about privacy, you guys talked about what we should protect. I love that. When we talk about security, yes, you're right. I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking of, okay, password. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You should think of password. What else are you thinking about? Let's think together. Protecting my information, yes. Safeguarding my strong password, absolutely. Securing our confidential information, I agree. I love that somebody's getting there. Multi-factor authentication. Remember now, a lot of us we are forced to, initiate our MFA. Um, Encryption, love it. Encryption is a big one. Think about this. One of the appeal of a tool like WhatsApp is the fact that they will tell you they have end-to-end encryption. Somebody said PIN. Ashin, you guys are awesome. You guys are way above us all. Access control, love it, love it. You guys are awesome. Tosin Latifa, that's awesome. Access control, because we're thinking in terms of how do you control access. Can we all type access control if you don't mind, everybody? I love that. Masking, anonymization, passkey, data masking. Sometimes you remember when you're trying to type your social security in some website, you know what they do? Once you type, what happens? It becomes X. So it's masked. It's a designed security control and function. Okay, so we get it. Now let's sneak another one real quick, everybody. Let's sneak in firewall. Everybody, can we say firewall? Is not fire in a wall, okay? But it's close to it. But look at it this way. We are saying it's a way to prevent unauthorized access to our network or environment. Many times, believe it or not, there are softwares also whereby we have inbounding data and outbounding data, whereby we've configured how data comes in and how data comes out of my organization. So we've kind of set it up in a way that the rules, can we all type in firewall rules? Can we say rules, everybody? I like that. Somebody said network traffic. Yeah. Can we say firewall rules? So anytime you hear the word firewall, think and say, oh, they've developed some rules in which how data comes in and how data goes out, right? That's really the core of it. So some of those rules at times, so when we do assessment around firewall, most environment, what they do is that we just check their existing rules. Some of the rules are weak, so you can easily say, hey, this rule does not make sense. They might have a reason to justify it. Some of them will use some standard rules, but many times you'll see the rules, if it makes sense or not, you can give feedback. Okay. But anytime you hear the word firewall, just know in your mind, rules built into how data comes in and goes out of the organization. Okay. I like that. Somebody said establish barrier between a trusted internet network and untrusted external network. Love it. Love it. Okay, let's move on a little bit. Thank you. We're on the same page. Data governance. Don't overthink this one. Think of oversight. How do we provide oversight to data? Let's keep it at that for now. The reason is this, think about it. We said data is the new oil, right? So it means data is a commodity now that is very expensive. That's why we can use data to target certain people to make a lot of money. So it's a big deal, right? So because of that, we have to have a process to govern how data works in your environment. As simple as that, okay? Can we all type data governance real quick? Data governance, real quick, everybody. You might hear that word. Some people, that's their core specialty. One of our mentors there, Dolly P, that's all he does, really. Is a guru in data governance, really. And that's a huge space on its own, generally speaking. All right, so let's talk about our PIA. All right, you can see we are back to the PIA, right? You know, Privacy Impact Assessment. So, what we're saying is that we are looking for problems relating to privacy. Can we all type? We are checking for problems around privacy real quick. Let's go. Just say, hey, that's what really that's what we're doing, really. And that's what you're going to do tonight. You're looking at an organization and you're saying, okay, wait a minute, you guys are doing whatever you're doing, you have a big company, but want to see if there are potential problems around the way you deal with privacy. That's the goal, ultimately. So in layman term, we are saying safety first. We are asking question. We have a plan. If there's a problem, we got to fix it at the end of the day. That's really what it is, really. And you'll see it in a bit once we get into it. All right, so I'll skip this one for 1 second. Then we will now get into the professional side. Remember, we always start with the foundation. So this is just foundation, for beginners, right? Privacy, like we said, keep our information private, security, lock and protect our data, governance, oversight on everything we do, assessment to constantly check if there's a problem or a gap with what we are doing. Simple, fair enough. Okay. All right. So let's now jump into the professional side of it. Okay. So remember again, we just started with the basic one to just talk about privacy generally, but now we'll now get into the professional side of it. All right. So let's quickly go through this real quick. Now, this is the deal here, right? This is a global healthcare company in this case. Let's talk about it. Think for 1 second. You know, Healthcare is one of the biggest area in the world today that we have to always think around safety of our patients' information, the record. There are many regulations that made it very important and required. Top on the list, we have the EPA, right, which is the Privacy Act in the US. Then we have for our European brothers and sisters, GDPR for member states in EU. Then we have our Canadian brothers and sisters, PIPEDA, meaning it's a Canadian law around privacy also. So it's going to be haunting you wherever you do business. It's a big deal for us, right? So in this case, let's quickly give you the use case. This is an environment that they just deployed X-ray machine, CT scan, and MRI machine. And what those machine does is, of course, we all know they would scan images of people, and they would, after scanning the images of people, they will go ahead and store those information in a network, right? But let's think about it for a second. Every image that is being stored, right? Guess what? Most of them are tied to patient's information. If I scan an image, I better tie it to the patient's name, their date of birth, their medical history, and any concern so far, right? So because of that, it's a big deal. It's such a big deal, right? So that's the use case in this environment. So let's talk a little bit about it. So let's talk about the intro to privacy impact assessment in this case. One, we are thinking of an advanced technology because think about it. I don't know if you guys have seen MRI machines before, CT scan machine. Most of them are pretty sophisticated. They're expensive equipment for hospital systems. So they're advanced technologies, right? Most of them also in the recent times are deployed to the cloud. Can we all type cloud? Everybody, if you don't mind, go ahead and type cloud. Now, if you hear the word cloud for my non-IT person, don't stress it. Okay. It's not the sky that we're just looking, no big deal. It's just set of different data center all over the world that people have. The common ones out there, let me ask, what are the common cloud service providers out there? Can you guys type? Let's see. I know a lot of you know them. Okay, AWS, Amazon Web Service. Let's see some other ones you guys will tell me about. Microsoft Azure. Now, please, if you're on the call, okay, it's not Azure, okay, it's Azure. Okay, if you call it Azure, they will know that what's going on here. All right, Azure, okay. And I'm an Ibadan boy, right? If I sneeze, you know I'm from Ibadan. But so it's not Azure, it's Azure. I'll probably call it Azure too if I didn't know. So just make sure you call it Azure, Microsoft Azure, okay? Then the other one is Google Cloud. Those are big ones. There's Salesforce. There are smaller ones out there also. There's Cisco Cloud. There's Alibaba. There's so many of them out there. But let me tell you what I've seen, okay? If you're a director of infrastructure in your organization, I have a feeling you want to quickly align with the big names. You know why? If there's a potential vulnerability, maybe a system crash, there's a problem, nobody will fire you for using Google Cloud or Amazon Web Service or Microsoft Azure because they are big names. But sure as heaven and hell, they will fire you for using an unknown vendor. If an unknown vendor is, so most people just align with the big names. And I know because I've been part of those decisions myself. So we'd rather go with the big names where you know you are safe because people want to protect themselves too, right? If things don't go well, nobody's going to fire you for using Cisco, for example, because they are the biggest in the networking space then, right? So, hey, those are the sentiment around it. Okay, somebody said Microsoft recent CrowdStrike. That's another big story. Yeah, most of us have heard about that story, CrowdStrike, blue screen thing. In that case, it was not even necessarily a cyber attack. They pushed, certain their patch. Unfortunately, they were not tested well, and it caused a lot of blue screen across the industry. Some people exploited that mishap to scam people. So either way, it was bad. There's no sugarcoating it. Privacy safeguard, of course, like anything else, we want to make sure we need to always protect sensitive information and ensure compliance with your local laws or your um, national laws, depending on the geography you find yourself, it's a big deal. Then today we'll talk about PIA implementation, which we'll do today actually. So I look out for that. So what is privacy impact assessment in general? It helps organization